Hey, what's going on, guys? Doing a video on my cell phone because I have a lot going on the next couple of days, and I'm trying to help out another YouTuber trying to come along, and I got a lot of work going on. So I had to do a car join, so that's where this video is coming from. So again, this week, disregard a lot of the graphics. It will come back, I promise. It's just a lot of stuff taking place to where this is just a little bit easier for me to make a video and get the point across here. So we got a couple Lions news we got to talk about. The Detroit Lions actually matched the Brock Wright offer that the San Francisco 49ers did. So that means that he is going to stay a Detroit Lion. It's going to be $4 million a year, basically a 3-year deal. $12 million, 4 million a year for Brock Wright. Now, there's going to be a lot of questions here to why the Detroit Lions match this, because I'm surprised that they matched it. I know there's other people surprised as well because of the amount of money that they're going to be giving Brock Wright. $4 million a year for a number 2 tight end who is primarily used in the run blocking and blocking aspect of his game, not really known as more of the reception, but he can do that. We've seen it clearly. And so we're putting $4 million towards this player. There's multiple reasons that this is probably occurring. First off, he knows the system, obviously. That's a guaranteed. But he's also a Dan Campbell type of guy, right? He's doing the grunt work of blocking and setting up big plays for Jahmyr Gibbs as well as Jared Goff. That's what he's primarily used at. And you want to be able to do pass protection and run blocking, right? It's a job that's not necessarily regarded as something high, because you look at a Sam Laporta, right? He catches a lot. But blocking is obviously vital towards the success to the Lions offense in general. Like, we have to be able to block. We have to be able to pass protect. And that's invaluable towards Dan Campbell and a team like the Detroit Lions. I mean, look, it was invaluable to San Francisco. They literally made this contract up for them. So clearly, he's a valuable asset. And so the Detroit Lions agree that he needs to stay a Detroit Lion. So let me know in the comment section really quick, do you agree with the Detroit Lions matching the offer from San Francisco? Y for yes and N for no. For me, I'm happy Brock Wright is back. I think it's a little bit overpaid for what he does, but he is a good player. He is a good player, and he fits exactly what we need. So now we don't really have to look towards tight end in the draft. I don't even think you have to look at tight end in any part of the round, in all honesty, after bringing Brock Wright back, because you got James Mitchell, who's going to be a number 3, and you got Shane Zylstra, who's going to fight as well. So I think the Detroit Lions are done. Now they may bring in a tight end as an undrafted rookie. Of course, all right, you want to bring in competition, but you don't have to waste a draft asset on a number 2 tight end. So I'm fine with the move, still a little fiscally, a little off of what I would have done, but Brock Wright is a good piece. The Detroit Lions also brought back Kindle Vildor, the cornerback whom we picked up about midway through the season last year, who replaced a struggling Jerry Jacobs, and he did a much better job than what Jerry Jacobs was doing. I think he even played better than Cam Sutton in a lot of games here. And he's going to be our number 4/5 cornerback, and that's great. I don't like Vildor as a number 1 or a number 2, but as a backup role, he played really good. So I am excited to have Kindle Vildor back as a backup cornerback for the Detroit Lions. Much better as a number 4/5. And that's realistically what his skill set is. So it's great for depth. It's great. Now, if you're thinking, oh, the Detroit Lions are not going to get a cornerback in the draft, they brought Vildor in, they picked up Amik Robertson and Daniel and all that stuff. So that's not the case. They're going to draft the cornerback in this year's draft. They could do it at 29. They could do it in the 2nd or 3rd round, 5th, 6th, or 7th. They're going to draft a cornerback, and it's going to be a young corner that's going to help this team out significantly. We need to have somebody that's going to be the staple of the secondary for the future. And the Detroit Lions are going to draft a cornerback. So if you're one of those individuals thinking, oh, they're not going to do it now, and we need to get better in the secondary, they are going to draft a cornerback, and they're going to get better in the secondary. Clearly, 2 years in a row, they're trying to get this position fixed. It is a position that needs to get locked down, because we have not had a lockdown player or players in the secondary for some time, since we've had Darius Slay and Quandre Diggs. So This is just the beginning of what they're going to do to this secondary. And again, when you have Brock Wright coming back and you bring in Vildor, you're again getting this depth strong. And it's making it to where you don't have to take a said position at any part of the draft. You're just going to go best player available. They're not forced to take a corner at 29 because of the additions that we did this offseason. We are not forced to take an edge rusher, a pass rusher at 29. We're not forced to take a guard at 29. We're not forced to take any position. They can just sit back and draft. And I think, again, the idea of taking a wide receiver is still coming in pretty big. They gave money to Brock Wright. That was $4 million a year. And if you look what Josh Reynolds got with Denver, it's a $4.5 million year. So they were willing to pay this type of money to Brock Wright, who's a number 2 tight end. We're unwilling to pay that type of money to Josh Reynolds, who is a number 3 wide receiver. So that idea right there is they could absolutely take a wide receiver at 29, starting in the draft. Let me know in the comment section, would you be okay with the Detroit Lions taking a wide receiver in the draft at pick 29? Why for yes and for no? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And we get towards this draft, and this is where Brad Holmes makes his money. This is where the Detroit Lions get better. I think we did well in free agency. We did all right. We could have done better. But that is not the staple of this regime. It is clearly the NFL draft and getting players to help this team out. So whomever they take at any of the selections, I think you have a good idea that that player is going to be a sound player for this football team because Brad Holmes can draft well. So again, I preach patience on the draft. Please don't get up and say that this is a terrible draft and blah, blah, blah. Brad Holmes knows what he's doing. Let this man cook. Let him cook. He is not perfect. There's no general manager or head coach that's perfect. And we're always going to be able to pick apart some of moves that's made by any regime, even Brad Holmes. But make no mistake about it, he is the best general manager. He is the man for the job. And this guy is a phenomenal evaluator of talent. Really, really is. Now, we've seen that there was a trade that the Buffalo Bills traded Diggs to the Houston Texans. A lot of people wanted the Detroit Lions to trade for Diggs. Now, he went, I think, for a second-round draft pick. They're going to have to pay him. A lot of people are going to ask, why didn't the Detroit Lions do this? There's multiple reasons why the Lions were not going to trade for Diggs. And this is why I gave it a 0.001% chance, is because it makes 0 sense for the Detroit Lions to trade for him. First off, he is a diva. Does that sound like a Dan Campbell type of guy to you? A individual that's going to whine if he doesn't get all the targets? Absolutely not. We got players like St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. These guys are going to get the footballs as well, so he wouldn't be happy here. Secondly, the cost of what he is going to cost as a player. A lot of money. We still got to pay Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's who we got to pay. We got to still pay Jared Goff. So fiscally, it didn't make a lot of sense. When it comes to how he acts as a player, it doesn't make sense for the Lions. And giving up a second-round pick. The Lions value their draft picks. A second round is a high pick where you can get a player who they believe, and I believe in them, that they can get a starter out of there. Brian Branch, second round. Sam Laporta, second round. Ali McNeil, third round. We know how to draft, so they like their assets. So that's another reason why they didn't do it. CJ Gardner-Johnson came out as well and talked, I wouldn't say badly about Lions fans, but took shots at some of the players and the Detroit in general, saying that only J-Mo and him are real ones because they're in the city of Detroit. We're seeing a reason why they didn't re-sign C.J. Gardner-Johnson. We're seeing that because he's not a Dan Campbell type of individual. He wants to talk. He wants to be the one that's heard. He wants to be the man. And that's just not going to be the case here in Detroit. We have to have individuals that are Dan Campbell type of guys. So let him take his shots. That's fine. That's okay. CJ, we loved you here when you were here, man. There's no one that dislikes you. Folks, make sure you go ahead and hit that notification bell. Subscribe for the latest Lions news and with that said, folks,